Let's talk a little bit about the recent NAR Class Action Lawsuit settlement. This settlement was for $418 million to be distributed over a period of 4 years. One thing that I have learned, and know that I am not the source, I am just a resource to you. Everything that I am sharing with you, I have learned through listening to multiple attorneys and a lot of reading over the last couple of weeks. So I'm happy to provide links to all of those sources for you. So one thing is to remember is that this settlement is not final. It's not complete, it's not final yet, so things can change. But let's talk about a few things that I do understand up to this point. One thing is that the way real estate has functioned in the past with regards to real estate commissions is changing. And some of those changes have already taken place. So let's talk a little bit about how real estate commissions have worked in the past, because for a lot of people, honestly, it's a mystery, and that's probably part of why we're at here today. So in the past, when a seller wanted to contract with me to list their property, the seller and I would negotiate my commission as the listing agent, and that is not changing. What is changing is that the seller would also be required, due to a National Association of Realtors rule, in order to have their property placed in the MLS, and the MLS is the multiple listing service. That's where all the information goes in, and then it's syndicated out into the ethers. In order to place your property in the MLS, an NAR owned MLS, you had to offer a buyer agent commission of at least $1. So the seller has always had a choice as to how much they could offer a buyer's agent, but it had to be $1. So you had to offer a buyer's agent commission. That is going away. And when we had that rule in the past, the way a buyer's agent was often paid is through the proceeds of the seller. Now, it's an interesting thing because unless a buyer purchases the property, nobody's paid. So even though the commissions technically come out of the seller's net sheet, the seller's net proceeds, unless the buyer comes forward and buys the property, nobody gets paid. So I've always told my buyers in the past, you are paying my commission. It's just being kind of placed into the sales price, and you're amortizing it over whatever period of your loan is. So all of this is changing. So what are we doing moving forward? So what has changed already, at least in Oregon and in Washington, is that no longer is it required for a seller to offer a buyer agent commission. You can, but it's not required. And it's still in the listing contract in Oregon, at least as of today. But in July, if all of this goes through, it's no longer going to be a field or a language in the listing contract. So what the DOJ is trying to get to here, or accomplish, my understanding, is that buyer's agent commissions should have absolutely no connection to the seller. That the buyer's agent commission should be negotiated with the buyer and have nothing to do with the listing agent commission as well. So what are we going to do moving forward? Because we've done it this way for so long, right? A couple of options that I'm understanding. So it's a myth that a seller cannot offer a buyer's agent commission. It's just it can't be listed as termed as a buyer's agent commission. So if the seller perhaps wants to offer a buyer concession, my understanding is that as of now, that can be, even in July, that can be put in the MLS, that the seller's offering a buyer's concession. It just cannot be contingent upon the buyer having buyer representation. Another way this might be worked out, well, one big change is that as of July, and I'm practicing this already, and I have been, is that in order for a buyer's agent to show a buyer a property, prior to actually doing that action, the buyer and the buyer's agent have to have in writing an agreement between them as to what their relationship is, what their agency is, and how the buyer's agent is being paid. So that's going to be a negotiation directly with the buyer. So it may be that when the buyer writes a contract, they might ask in the contract for a concession. from the seller. This has been normal. Often buyers in the past have, depending on the market, have asked for seller concessions, which could be, hey, would you contribute $10,000 towards my closing costs and prepaids or something like that. So those types of things are still allowable to my understanding, and perhaps that's a way that a buyer will offset the cost of paying for their agent. So what does this mean for the market? Some people say, oh, it's going to make prices drop, buyers aren't going to want agents anymore. One thing I do know about this industry is that it is incredibly innovative, and that we will solve this. We will figure it out. We are committed to the service of our clients above all else. So we will figure this out, and it will be to the benefit of the clients. We're going to get through it. We'll see what happens in July. If you want to talk about any of the ins and outs of it, let me know. Some sellers are like, well, what if I don't offer a buyer's agent commission? How will that affect the sale of my house? The truth is we don't know right now. We're like in the wild, wild west of commission real estate right now. But I'm always happy to chat about it, chat about any details, anything that I can share. And do know that I'm just taking this information from somewhere else, hopefully to be a resource to you. I hope this was enlightening and interesting, and reach out if you have any questions.